love to introduce our beautiful guests today. These are two powerhouse women who seriously have built, well, I would say an empire from scratch. And I am so excited. We are so excited to just get into your story, who you are, what you do, and why you're a busybody. So this is Nui.
Hello.
Hello, gorgeous
Thank
lady.
you for having us.
And Mariam.
Of course.
Hi. Beautiful. They are sisters.
As if you couldn't tell.
Right.
You guys are just two friends that met. You're like, we kind of look like each other.
Right.
Let's start a biz.
Yeah.
We're actually brothers. Not a lot of people.
You wouldn't tell.
Yeah. I got the red hair. That's what really throws people off.
I know.
That's what it is. Yes. So what do you guys do?
We're in like the fitness and health industry.
Amazing.
Yes.
Nice.
And we just opened up our own little gym studio.
Wow. Congratulations.
Fantastic gym. Okay.
Where are you guys located?
In North Hollywood.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Where are we talking in NoHo? Which I'm trying to think. There's the. Do
Testing out your geography
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
Is Big Wings
see how well he
still a
does.
thing, or did they
Big
get rid of Big Wings?
Big Wings is no longer.
Yeah, I don't think it's there
Yeah.
anymore.
The
Yeah.
area you're talking about Lancashire.
Yeah.
It was right
Yeah.
on Lancashire.
I know what I'm talking about.
I don't
dude.
think you
Come
knew the
on.
street, but it's okay.
Yeah,
got you.
I knew what I was talking about. Lancashire. I know
It's
that.
really close to there. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. So is it a full on just fitness gym, or do you guys kind of do both? Do you guys do like red light recovery and stuff like that, or what when you guys are health and fitness, in what department of health, or is it specifically?
Yeah, that's a good question because we're a private personal training gym.
Oh,
So
sweet.
we also open up the space for personal trainers to come in and bring in their clients as well.
Cool. Okay.
Nice.
And then we are going to be offering yoga classes, like
Nice.
one-on-one yoga, and then also life coaching.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all in one together.
Yeah.
Just health.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So what
interesting.
was-
Life coaching.
Yes.
Yeah.
As well. You could turn your whole life around when we go to you guys.
Yeah.
New person.
We'll fix
Okay.
your
Yeah,
glutes,
we're taking
One-
your child, taking
one
the busy
stop
body.
shop, yeah.
Right? So what was the journey like getting to the facility?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was a journey for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we kind of we were living together at the time in West Hollywood, and it was we were just talking about like our dreams, our aspirations, what we ultimately wanted to do. Nui was always doing personal training, so that kind
okay.
of fit into it all. I was working at the school district. I knew I didn't want to be there, and so I had a vision of like having like a wellness center, and just my passion had always been to like help people live a good quality of life. Since we don't have that much time here, like a lot of people suffer unnecessarily, right? And so we were talking about our visions and our dreams, and it was very similar, like what our goals were. And so that's how we kind of combined forces and figured, why don't we, do this together?
No kidding. Right.
Which is powerful to have a team player, to like say, hey, we're in alignment.
Yes.
We wanna get people well. And I've been personally trained by this woman right here. And let me tell you, it made me 10 times harder. And
Yeah. I was gonna say, you guys were working out together before the facility, way before.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
facility.
so even just in that, like I got to hear a lot of like your dreams in this and getting to know about the dreams together. And so like from that moment, like what was this something that you guys saw as little girls, like wellness, health, fitness? Like what was something that drove you into this place?
Yeah, I think growing up, we were always involved in sports and health. So we kind of had that already in there. But I don't think it was something that I thought about or that we thought to kind of go into and open up like a studio, because it wasn't until I actually started working as a trainer and like going into multiple gyms and kind of seeing what goes on in there and not really enjoying some of the environment and the atmosphere that kind of a lot of people, like a lot of our clients, they come in, they're like, the first thing that they say, they're like, oh, I love how aesthetic it is. I love the energy in here. And it feels very welcoming and open. And I think a lot of gyms are missing that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it takes people away from actually joining into a gym and actually working on their health.
Yeah.
You-
Right.
Yeah.
Sidebar, you know what's wild to me about gyms these days? There's just so much filming going on in gyms these days.
Yeah, so
nuts.
many.
It's nuts. It's like
Yes,
it-
less working out, more
No,
filming.
it is so much filming. It is so much filming to the point like I've had countless times where I'm like, I just want to get that weight. Like, I don't
Yes.
like I don't
Right.
want
Just
to.
wanna
And
get
I
that
just like
weight.
literally I'm here to work
Nah.
out. You're here shooting. That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
But I just want to get like past you. And the amount of people that will get pissed off if you like cross their frame. And I'm like, bro, this is a gym.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's a public space.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's different for like a facility. I'd say, there's probably more allowance to this stuff. Man,
No, you're
it's
not
just
wrong.
blowing my
I
mind.
have
It's more than like I used to see jokes where people were like, "Oh, filming at the gym." I'd never seen it. Now, like the gym I go to, I see my gym on TikToks all the time, and B, I'm like everyone's filming all the time. I just wonder like.
No, that was a big problem years ago, even before the pandemic.
Oh.
When we lived on this side of the valley, we always went to the LA Fitness by
Yeah.
Universal.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Oh,
countless
yeah.
Oh,
amount
yeah.
of times
Dude.
people would get mad because they would just sit there. They would take a tripod, set their phone somewhere and start filming, or they'll talk and leave it there. I saw so many people. get mad.
Yeah. I guess what I was getting at with that is like since you guys are a privately trained facility or you can bring people to your facility as a trainer, I'm sure through you guys have discussed that with the trainers. Is it typical that so it's not like people can just do you also
No.
do memberships or it's strictly private?
Yeah, no, it's strictly private.
Okay.
And that's also the benefit of coming to our gym is that
Right.
you're not going to run into that and you're not going to run into like not being able to use a piece of equipment.
Right.
That's the plus.
That
that's
is
the
a good
plus.
plus.
Yes.
Yeah.
You won't have to jump over people.
Yeah,
Like, you
you
know.
If you're a gym, have more than one fly machine and more than one flat bench, please.
Yeah.
For the love of God, please.
You
Yeah,
heard it here,
okay,
folks.
cool.
And
cool.
I remember I went to the grand opening of your guys' gym. I
Yes.
love that gym.
Aw,
that's a
thank
great
you.
space.
Yeah, thank you
Congratulations
so
to
much.
both of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very beautiful. And coming-
TFTI, bro.
Yeah.
Bro,
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
My glutes, honestly, my hip flexor, my glutes need so much work. So
Well, here
I'll
you
probably-
go.
There you go.
It's,
Where you
it's-
go.
It's terrible. I have like a clicking noise. My knee lifts up, but it's in my.
It's
Okay,
almost
I'm
being
getting a little too
27.
deep
That's
here.
what it
It's-
is.
Yeah.
the clicking noise sound is for another conversation.
Yeah.
That's-
So where you guys are really differing to me, as far as what I'm used to hearing out here, is self-help along with private
Yeah.
fitness and stuff. That's a
Yes.
different.
For
That's
sure.
really unique. What
Yeah.
what made you guys?
Yeah.
Where'd those two things merge?
Yeah, so that's kind of like my passion. How again, like we grew up being very like involved in sports and things like
Right,
that.
right.
But aside from that, when I was in college, I kind of switched gears. I was in bio, so I was going to go towards the medical field, and then 2 years into it, realized this isn't for me. So I switched to public health and then psychology and social behavior. And in one of my psychology courses, there was a class, health psychology, and that one really, really stuck to me because so many of people's like health issues stem from
The body.
the psychology portion of it too, right?
Mhm.
And so holistically, when we're looking at overall health, you can go to the gym every single day and not be changed, you know?
Right, yeah.
You know,
Makes
you're
sense.
not going to be, you might not be a well-rounded person, not living your best quality of life if you're just focusing on your physical strength and not like what's happening on the inside. So we kind of like merge the two together. So you're working from the inside out.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's funny. I was actually I was reading something recently that was talked about like you could have the perfect diet and everything could be set up, but if you're
Mhm.
mentally
Yes.
thinking, I'm just not someone who loses weight, or I'm just
Yes.
not someone
yeah.
who builds muscle or whatever, and you're
Right.
counting your macros, you're counting your calories, everything's locked in.
Yeah.
You don't see a change just because you're telling your brain like, oh, we aren't, so we're not gonna use this in the proper way. And
Absolutely.
Is that kind of in part
Yeah.
online with what you're talking about?
100%. And
Yeah.
then and like to jive with kind of that,
Yeah.
there's also been this is an insane study, but they did a study on a group of people who just thought about growing their muscle, just thought about it,
Right.
didn't do anything with it, and that part of their body actually grew a little bit of muscle.
I now know what I'm
Oh,
gonna
wow.
do.
Not to say that, not to say that you can't, you know, like
Yeah,
you're not,
yeah,
you,
yeah.
you have to do
Fitness
stuff,
program.
but
Yeah.
just the power of your mind.
No, yeah,
that's
the way,
huge.
The way
It's
you,
very,
yeah,
very
the way you think of
important.
yourself goes a long way.
No, it's mind over
Yeah.
matter thing. That's also, I mean, they talk about with musicians and training, like,
Right.
it's picturing it in your mind's eye. It's the same theory of like, remember in Queen's Gambit, she would see the chessboard when she was
Yes.
going to bed. It's the same way where if you practice a song, right? And a lot of people are like, well, I'm, you know, I can't bring my piano with me, so I'm going to practice. They do say in theory, if you visualize yourself practicing the song, you're still building those same
Yes.
pathways and you'll still understand, like you'll have a firmer grasp on it later. It's like our brains are so powerful with that sort of stuff. So it does make sense to me that in theory, if you're going to the gym and you're like, I'm going to build muscle, I'm going like on top of this, it's going to happen. Like your brain will wire itself to prep itself to do the needed actions. It's the same way.
100%.
I mean, not to get too deep with it, but one of my favorite books of all time is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and it was basically talking about like half the reason these people would survive these just horrific events is because their brain was like, I'm a survivor. I am a person who survives for my wife or for my family or something like that. And their brain would be like, okay, then you're going to survive. And then the minute they got word that maybe they passed away or something like that, their brain would be like, I have nothing to survive for anymore. And they would just go.
Yeah.
And he was talking about it's amazing the resilience your brain will have or what it will design for you if you really do stick to it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's you guys have such a smart thing going on right now because I was
you.
there really isn't too I haven't heard of that really. I've heard of like,
I
you
don't
know,
think so.
like, I've obviously heard of like, oh, we're a gym, we also have red light therapy or we, you know, and stuff like that, like for recovery. But I haven't really heard of a sort of self-help on top of physical training.
That's
That's
what
a
I'm saying.
really
Yeah,
interesting
I haven't heard of
perspective.
many locations, if any,
Yeah.
that do that. And you guys are in a great location.
Yeah.
Right.
Like right in the middle of the valley, which is nice.
And you're women owners.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a safe space too. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, so that's a question. So, you guys are women owners, but are you cater to both, right? You cater to
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's because I also know like there are female gyms just because of like I mean
Sure.
unfortunately the stuff they run into at other gyms, and so I was curious about that.
So how do you guys go about, let's say, you know, you want to partner with other trainers? Like, how do you guys even get those trainers to be willing to come into your gym and bring their clients to you?
Yeah. We're also like very I guess picky
Yeah.
in that way too, because we want to make sure our space is very safe.
Right.
Right. And so when a trainer comes in or we reach out, there's like other trainers that I might know in the past or they might be in the area. They'll come in and, you know, we'll talk and kind of see how their training style is too. Because we also want to make sure that it's a good fit for us and so that they also make other people comfortable in our
like
space
it's not damaging
too.
your brand.
Yeah, because there's so many trainers out there, right? But it's like to get like the ones that really care about helping the client get to the goal, and it's not just an aesthetic thing unless that's what the client wants.
Yeah.
It's actually hard to come by.
Like make sure you're not getting like a
Yeah.
David Goggins. It's kind
You're
of
like, oh, I did not want to be here.
Yeah. Right.
With that, I love like even just how you're talking about where you're like taking the intelligence of it, like the more than just the body working out something, and then also the body. Like, is that how you guys came up with the name? Like, I don't think you've discussed the name yet, but you know, what is the name? And like, how did you guys get there?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
So our studio name is called Body and Soul.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very fitting.
Nice.
And you know, I mean, the name says, you know, speaks for itself. It's really is working on yourself from the inside out, and not just looking at working on your physical like health, but your mental health and everything that comes with it. I think that's what attracts a lot of people to like our space as well. That's like the number one thing that they ask, that they come in, they're like, oh, I was interested because I looked it up. It said it was a gym, but it's called Body and Soul. So do you do more than just working out?
Yeah. Well, I also feel like through the fitness journey, people it can be counterintuitive to have certain goals because your body is your body. Your journey is your journey, right? And I think a great trainer, it's always been so much more than like what you're talking about with the aesthetics, because sometimes you're not going to have the genetic aesthetics that you may see in someone else, but it's
Yes.
also finding a way to highlight what you do have, being proud of that. I mean, I was quite heavier when I was younger, and so I still have really bad body dysmorphia with some things, even though I know I'm way ahead of where I was or where I thought I would be. Um, and I had to learn a long time ago, like I don't have some of these physiques that I see and other things that I may want, but what I do have is this, and to work on this and try to. I think is that something you guys kind of approach as well with your clients? Is like, and not quote unquote being realistic with them, but finding them a way to be like, no, we're gonna reach your goals, but in a way that's suited towards you rather than like you see this, but you know,
Unique attributes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we always like our like phrase for the gym is like an intuitive approach to fitness. So I think that jives well with like our approach as well. So I don't know. Nui's a really great trainer, and she like pushes you to the limit, but not to the point where you're going to be too sore to not be able to come back. You know, like,
Right.
and absolutely, you're right. And it's
Definitely
also
have that
like
feeling.
it all. What?
We've been all been there.
Yeah. And also like just certain like things that you see, like, okay, what makes that good, like every body is different, so as long as you're actually moving, like the whole purpose of working out, I think, is to live a good quality of life, so that when you are older, you're not like unable to walk or have all these ailments. And a lot of like the gym culture can be counterintuitive, where like they're lifting really heavy and then you might hurt yourself in other ways.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Example A is my hips.
I was gonna say too, like even my dad, Kirsten's dad, I love that's like, we're this age. I see our dads on the soccer field, the
Still.
basketball
Yeah.
court, the
That's
football
amazing.
field.
Yeah.
I see
Great
like
problem.
they're taking hits harder than half of the players on there. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that's the dad I want to be.
Yeah.
I want
of
to be able
course.
to hit the field with my kid when they're older.
Yeah.
For
like little
sure.
Kids.
I mean, my dad's 67. He still gets like hockey pucks to the face and like does head things for soccer and like dives. Like my dad,
Yeah.
my dad is like a 20-year-old and like
That's amazing.
he's raising a 5-year-old and like it's like
Right.
that's because he kept again what you guys are speaking about, his mind, like your soul is your mind, will, and emotions, right? And then his body and even his spirit, like just taking time to like rejuvenate and like think of where he's actually at. And I think
Yeah.
that's really powerful. So
You can definitely like make yourself older if you think you're old.
yeah.
Yo,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, like a
Yeah.
mind thing.
Yeah.
Someone was telling me yesterday, I thought it was so brilliant. They were like, I kept saying like, I'm so old. And then the person that they were with was like, that's a curse word. Don't say that. Like, don't speak that in my home. And I thought that was so brilliant, because I was like, it's true. Like, how much do we claim over ourselves just subconsciously,
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Man, it's we were talking about counterintuitive things in the fitness world. What are some fads or misconceptions you guys see a lot that just like drive you up a wall? Or you just, you guys are like,
Like, where do we start?
I don't know, too controversial here. I'm just really curious from like it being the industry you guys are in.
There's
What are
a couple.
what are some things? I would love for you guys to list
Okay.
them off.
That's a good question,
Like,
yeah.
what are some things you're like,
curious.
ugh,
I have something in mind, but I don't know if you want to talk on that. Like women and lifting weights.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Okay, yeah. Go
I think
for it.
I think just the idea of women lifting weights and it's gonna make you bulky or
Yes.
masculine or something of that. And
In
it
that nature,
constantly
yeah.
changes too.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing like a shift now where at one point I feel like women were starting to lift a lot of weights.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they're like pulling back again. So it's very
Yeah, it's a
interesting.
phase.
It kind of goes up and down.
It's like a phase.
trying to
It's
be
a
soldiers.
phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of looking at lifting weights as something that can make you stronger, and
Right.
actually it can probably, if your goal is to lose weight or something, it can actually help you lose weight. It's not going to make you bulky.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? So that's a
Yeah.
big one.
That's really funny you say that, because I used to always think like when I would hear that, I don't want to like like I would talk to friends in the past, like female friends would be like, I don't want to lift weights, I'm gonna get bulky. I'm like, I eat a ton and lift a lot, and it's hard
Right.
for
It's
me
hard.
to get bulky. You think
Yeah.
you're gonna bulk up before I bulk up? Like, I'm like, do you know how hard it is if you're on a strict diet and you do great and you really push yourself to failure and all these like sets and you're very specific? I was like, you can maybe if you're a new lifter, get maybe 10 pounds of muscle in a year. But if you're like a novice, if you've been doing it for a little bit, you're lucky to maybe put on about 5 pounds in a year if you're really good with it. I'm like, you really think you're gonna be like,
Yeah, it's
the
a little
incredible
insulting, right? To
Yeah.
the people who are actually putting on weight.
Yeah.
and bulky.
like, oh, I'm just gonna bulk up. What are you talking about? Like that's always that's so interesting. And then have they not? Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, this is your guys' department. Have they not also proven that a higher rate of fat loss actually comes from like weighted resistance training rather than cardio or like
Yes.
lifting weights encourages fat loss in the body, right?
Yes.
It does.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's also really beneficial for people who are getting older. Like
Right.
we need some type of resistance in our bones for our muscles. Like we need that.
It was a funny thing. I will say this because this was a funny story about that. So when I first met Brandon,
Oh God.
Just during
I
your
was
training
like,
time.
Brandon's like
Oh,
a
yeah,
super
that's what
gym
she's gonna say.
fanatic. Okay, so
Yeah.
like he would be like,
I've
"Yo,
gone
let's
through
go
so
to the
many
gym," and I'm
phases.
like, "Yeah, sure," like whatever. I go to the gym, and
Oh,
I
you're
was
talking about
eating
this
so many
one.
burgers. I love burgers. Okay, and I was
Oh.
not gluten free.
Kristen was a terrible
And I
influence.
started like, getting like muscular, like and really like shapely. And my mom was like, "You're making her fat. Stop doing this." And Brandon's like, "What do you mean? She looks great."
Yeah,
It's like,
And it was
yeah,
really
you're
funny.
like, no, she's curvy. I
It's
love
like,
it.
I just was
keep
like
going.
so used to, because the misconception of like how women should
Right.
look in that way, I just was so used to being like so like tiny. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so it's
I
like
didn't
you
even-
don't
yeah.
really like.
I remember that memory. I was
Yeah,
like,
it was actually a funny moment because I was like, oh, actually, this is what I want to feel healthy in, and like what
Mhm.
is a healthy weight for me, and like get
Hey,
asked
you're
the
welcome. Got
question.
you.
Yeah.
I got you.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
it was
a
funny.
Sidebar thing on that. I recently read "I'm Glad My Mom Died" by Jeanette McCurdy.
Such a good book.
Such a good book. And something I didn't even conceptualize was half of the fear of gaining weight made her feel, and also plenty of women have come to acknowledge this as well. To gain weight made them feel curvy, made them feel sexual, made them feel sexualized.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like an avoidance in gaining weight, in lifting weights, in gaining curvature, kept this safety of not feeling womanly. And I didn't even that didn't even cross my mind, but
Yeah.
that's another societal thing that's been, is like, well, I don't want to gain this curvature. I don't want to gain this this for the sake of avoiding predatorial
Yeah.
things and all that stuff too, which is a whole thing I never it's like
Yeah, you're
duh.
never gonna
Like
think
duh.
Women go through a lot of different things.
Yeah, no,
you
of
know?
course.
It's
Of
like you're
course.
not enough and you're too much.
Of
Okay,
course. It's like
deal with this
Yeah.
now.
but I was just saying, like, it's funny. I'm sure that's not where your mom was coming from,
no.
obviously. But I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
even then, though, just like her noticing is still that same thing.
Yes.
It's like,
Well, because she as a woman went through a lot of crazy things, and
Yeah.
so she's processing so many different mental state stuff that was
Right.
like, oh my gosh, warning, warning,
Yeah,
warning,
yeah.
warning, and so she didn't mean it in any way, but like,
course.
she was raised a specific way that she wasn't allowed to like even shave her armpits. So
Right.
like that's a huge drastic
yeah,
difference
yeah.
of like, okay, now I'm allowed to work out.
Kinda
You know what I
shows
mean?
you
Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's like
Generation changes there.
or playing sports or like
Our mom
Our
wasn't
mom
allowed to
wasn't
play
allowed to
sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
my mom either, or
That's-
she had to wear a skirt doing it. I'm like, who wants to wear a skirt while like playing soccer?
Like a full on
Like,
school uniform.
yeah,
situation.
like and so just different ways of living and the things that come at you in the seasons of when you grow up.
Yeah.
So anyways, some more.
So okay, so lifting
Go.
weights.
Yeah,
So
miss-
technically, and specifically females bulking. The
Mhm.
misconception behind that is there?
Yeah.
Are there any more?
What else? I think maybe like the idea of like not eating if you want to lose weight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like,
the
You actually have to like
That's
eat
true.
more
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
lose weight. It's very hard for people to understand. You're
The
like,
amount
wait, I
of-
have to eat more to lose weight.
Yeah.
Yes.
So explain that.
Yeah.
a
So
little bit.
funny.
I wanna
Explain
hear
it.
yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
a big, because it's like So there's a difference between working out, like versus just daily movement, right? And so every day we have, everyone has a different metabolic rate that we burn calories, even just like sitting down here all the time. And so when you start eating so little, you're thinking like, okay, I'm gonna eat 1,500 calories now, so I can like lose weight. Like maybe in the first few weeks, sure you will, but then your body starts recognizing that it's like, okay, we're not getting enough food. So then it actually starts to lower your metabolic rate. So now you're burning less calories throughout the day because it's like you're training your body. It's like, okay, we don't have enough food. So it's trying to keep you in like a survival mode. Okay, we need to hold on to all the fat. So if anything, the weight that you even lose, it's not even fat that you're losing a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's actually holding on to it.
Yeah.
And then when you start eating more, after that, you put on all that weight back. But then now
Very
you're putting
quickly.
fat back on. You're
Yeah.
not putting muscle. So if
Yeah.
anything, you're kind of in a more worse situation than when you
Yes.
started. If you were
Yeah.
just to kind of eat at a healthy like rate, moderate, and then just like move your body.
Yes. And what would you say is like for someone trying to build bulk, lean muscle, what's a healthy eating habit? Like how often? Because I've heard tons of things on eating, like massive meals.
Yeah.
I've heard small meals every 2-3 hours. I've heard
After a certain
Morning
yeah.
fasting
Yeah.
and big
Yeah.
meals, or gram of protein per pound of weight, which has been argued on both sides for that's complete BS and that is like
Yeah.
work. So like all that stuff is
there's a ton of things.
I think when it comes to like how often you eat, it's very it depends on the person. So I
Yeah.
don't think that matters as much. But what we do lack, I think what everyone lacks is the amount of protein we eat.
yeah. I agree.
Just everyone, like we're always low on protein. So I think if you can just prioritize protein in every single meal that you eat, doesn't matter if you're eating like frequently 5 times a day or if you eat 3 times a day. But as long as you're getting enough protein in the day, then you'll be okay.
That's
Alright.
I've always figured that to be the rule of thumb, is to definitely like maximize. I think what really helped me is when that basically became like protein made up just about the whole plate, and then you have like whatever else you're kind of eating on the side. I guess the only thing that really do you think without training, without guidance, that it's feasible, it's very realistic for someone to keep up with their calorie counting and stuff all like that? Or do you see it as less as let's count calories and more as let's find a nutritional plan instead? Because I mean, I can become very anal when I'm following something, and I can like do the counting and do the day by day and the hour by hour, and you got your smartwatch going off and stuff like that. But then sometimes it feels like it eats you alive. I mean, you're this guy bringing like boiled chicken to a restaurant in a plastic bag, and look, his turnout was amazing. I'm just saying, like, it becomes your life.
I was
in
about to
some
add to that too, because there is times if you're like heavy on the meal plans, like I've caught myself stressing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't eat.
And
Like,
then he
that's a
stresses
whole
me.
nother problem.
So I have so much to say.
Yes,
So like I absolutely do not count anything.
Okay.
Like I don't count calories. I don't do any of that. And it works for some people. It does.
Sure.
But for me, it's a very negative mental thing because I think growing up, I did have a lot of like body dysmorphia issues. And so like I can get really fixated on that. And like you said, it becomes very stressful.
Right.
And then when you're stressed, you actually store fat around your belly because you're in survival mode. You're doing more harm. So what I've found to be beneficial for me is that I can eat to a point where it's comfortable for me. I know I'm not so full that I can't go out and like go on a brisk walk or something like that, So I've trained my body where I know exactly how much to eat that I feel okay. And mentally, like I'm in a good state when I'm doing that. If I'm counting calories or things like that, it's
Too
not
much.
not gonna work for me.
Is that what they've talked about? I've recently heard there's something called like cortisol gut or cortisol
Oh yes,
belly. Is that kind
because
of what
cortisol is released when you're stressed.
Right.
Yeah, and it's all stored right here.
Yeah, your tummy releases so much of it, and also stores so much
find more
dopamine. It's like
peace.
your second immune system, and
It's your
brain.
second brain. Yeah.
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 I gotta find more peace.
I was like,
What is the quote of the day? Oh my
You gotta
gosh.
chill on those
That
yerba
was
mates, 36 gram
amazing,
of sugar.
No,
the one I-
So
the one I had
good.
is 0. I found one with 0.
Oh, okay. Is it that like
Wow.
monk fruit sort of?
I don't know. They always make fun of me because I try to limit my sugar intake as much as possible because I train
Yeah.
now. And really the only sugar I consume is in my caffeinated beverages.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's what they
But,
sneak in.
and
but that's what he's
cookies.
messing with me right now. But I found one that's 0.
Yeah, well, because
0
he'll be like,
milligrams.
I'm limiting my sugar, but his yerba mate is like 38 grams of sugar, and, like 2 servings in one can, and I'm like, bro, you just got like 3 times your
Whoa,
sugar
no,
intake. in
that's one
thing.
serving. One serving.
He's like, yo, chill. I've been counting this. No, that makes a lot of sense to
Yeah.
me. I just
Do you guys do meal plans for your clients or just the fitness aspect of it?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's the same approach with like the physical workouts where it's very individualized. So we go through that conversation again. Okay, what's realistically going to work for you? Because
Yeah.
some people do like to count,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it
right,
works
of
for some
course.
people.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely,
and we do
Everyone's
count
different.
everyone's macros. But for what I've noticed, a lot of people don't really like doing that. And it's also not something that's sustainable. So we
Yeah.
really want to focus on something that's going to be long term for you
Right.
to actually make that change and like,
Yeah.
be healthier. And
Mhm.
realistically, just counting all the time, it's just not really
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Also, like, what is your goals? Like, are you
Yeah.
training to be like on stage, to be, like a
Right.
fitness model? Then you might be counting and bringing
Mhm.
your own meals to restaurants,
That
and
was
that's
years ago.
completely
Years ago.
fine.
Yeah.
But then if the goal is to like,
competition next week.
we all like,
Yeah.
go,
He's like,
Brittany,
"Guys, let it go."
That was
Yeah.
It was a funny memory. I'll tell you after.
Yeah.
Continue. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
But yeah, so if your goal is to just like sustain this for a long
Yeah.
period of time,
Mm.
are you really going to be happy doing that for the
Mhm.
rest of your
Yeah.
life? There was this one trainer who she built her ideal body, like ideal, like almost zero fat on her, like
Mm.
very built. And she wrote a book later on, and she's like, you know what? It came to a point where she was like, okay, I got this perfect body, but I'm not happy. Like I'm not happy with how I'm living my life. So the first thing she actually did was like, I'm gonna put creamer in my coffee. Like, like she
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
little changes
Yeah, and
back.
it just brings a little joy in
like
your
little
life.
joys in
Yeah.
life.
Made me feel better, yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's funny you say that. I used to have a friend of mine years ago, back when I was taking food to restaurants.
Yeah.
And he's the one that even got me on this whole training system. And he used to compete for
Mhm.
these crazy fitness. I forgot what they're called, but crazy fitness tournaments. And
Competition.
yeah, competition.
Yeah.
Thank
That's what
you.
they're called is crazy fitness.
But he would be. I think he was about 200 pounds, and he was just pure lean, like it didn't look like a gram of fat.
Yeah.
I bet
existed
he was
on his body.
miserable.
No, that's my point.
Oh, sorry.
Because that's what she was saying. Yeah, he said that he felt terrible most
Yeah.
days,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Yeah, eating. There's no pleasure in eating at this stage to
Yeah.
maintain this.
Yeah.
I mean,
there is no pleasure in it.
that's what I was warned about. I've had a few projects that we got. Well, hell, even the show was like, no, we're not going to need you shirtless. We don't need you to be that type of guy, for the show and everything. And I was like, you say that now.
No.
That's how it always goes. Like you say that now.
And then
because
you're
there's
like, okay.
also, there's also such a huge, especially in the industry, I think about this all the time. Like you'll never just see someone with like a regular body. It's like they either have
yeah.
to, especially if they're like the leading man, they have to be just shredded.
Yeah.
And I was talking to like some trainers, like in the stunt team. Like I wasn't getting the training, but they're talking about, they're like, oh yeah, we've, some of us, we've had to train some of the actors and stuff like that, or do, both things. And they're basically talking about, it's like, yeah, they're miserable. I mean, they look great, but yeah, of course they're miserable. He's like, dude, you're watching all your calories. Basically by the last day, like the day of actual shooting, you're starving. Like we've made sure, like, it's like, that's the thing I wish we would preach a little bit more. I think, and we do this a lot with social media. Social media, you're always seeing the final product of something.
Yes.
Like and that's why watching the journeys can be fun, but when you see that person that's ripped or someone that has this, and then they'll just be like, this is what I eat in a day. And it's just like, great, that's awesome. But also like, congrats to the 10 to 12 years of you working your ass off. That no one else is like, excuse me, but it's just like, it's like this, like what I eat in a day and stuff like that. It's like, that always just kind of like frustrates me a little bit because
Yeah.
you know, and I love when more fitness people lean into the transparency of showing, like you were saying with her book, or you were saying with your buddy, where it's like, I just wish people are a little bit more like, it can be sustainable, but it's also your life, and to look like that can be miserable unless
Yeah.
you found like a peace with it and
I was gonna
stuff.
say
And,
there's a balance.
and I'm not trying
There's
to steer anyone clear of it, of course.
Yeah.
I feel like your healthiest self is what you feel like your healthiest self is. But I just like, that's always been one of my pet peeves with it. It's just like,
I think there's
you
also
know,
seasons of eating, because
Yeah.
like for me too, like recognizing when I couldn't eat gluten anymore, or like, couldn't have something else anymore,
Rest in peace, Whitney.
peace out, bro.
Yeah.
I realized actually gluten-free is not healthier for you most of the time, because it has a lot of starches and bleaches and different stuff in
Sugar.
it, and
Yeah, yeah,
sugars. And so and I was missing a lot of nutrients and proteins, because gluten's a protein. And so then it actually activated more things in my body that I couldn't do before. And I started losing so much weight, it became so unhealthy. And so like, even identifying in the season you're in, like what is good for me to have right now, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah, I think
that's
it's-
something to reevaluate constantly. Like, yeah,
It ebbs and
always gonna change. As a person, you're always growing, your body's evolving, different atmospheres, different things, like, different age.
Even just, I think the idea of like eating intuitively, I
Yes.
see that a
Yeah.
lot on social media, and I think it's a great concept. Like, I think we all should be eating like that, but nobody talks about how difficult it is to even get to that point.
Yeah.
Most people
Mhm.
cannot do that. It takes years to master that.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
with my clients, like, yeah, I can sit there and I can tell them, okay, like these are the things that you have to eat, but if you feel too much pressure, it's okay. Like, try to like portion things out. I think it does help in the beginning to have an idea of
Yeah.
how much you should be eating, because I don't think we really know.
No.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
kind of are not really taught these things, and so we don't even know where to start. So I
Right.
think it does kind of help to have at least an idea of like, okay, this is how much I should be eating of protein, this is how much carbs I should be eating, how much fat, and then from there you can kind of get away from that and understand your body better, and like, okay, this is what I can eat, I'm gonna have a little treat here, and you can balance it out. But to do that from the beginning, it's so difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's
feel-
like detoxing, or like, what's the word, where you're cutting something off. What is it?
Oh, fasting or no?
Yeah, but like when you have a change of habit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like when you're eating habit, and then like, even if you have any, like something that could be good for you, like let's say broccoli, okay? I don't know. If you have too much broccoli, then it's too bad
Yeah,
for
right.
you. Like
Right,
you're
right.
gonna like overdo your broccoli.
Yeah.
That's what-
So,
that's what
you
I was
know.
gonna say. I mean, really, the hardest part is in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And at least in my opinion, it could be wrong for somebody else, but I think the hardest part's in the kitchen, because I mean,
Yeah.
like you were saying, all these vegetables, all this other food can be very healthy for you if you're trying to hit your goals, but then you got to eat in moderation. You got to try your best not to stress out while you're doing it to get your
Yes.
results, which I'm guilty of that one sometimes.
Mhm.
And then just, I feel like there's a very easy, not, I wouldn't say easy is not the right word, but there's a healthy way of working out and making sure you get your results.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, me working out the way I am now is like the best I've ever felt.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, there's tons of
That's
healthy ways
amazing.
for sure. And even to add what you were saying too with the gluten free and the other diet plans, I think there is sources of gluten free that is technically healthier than certain items that wouldn't be gluten free. But I think with how popular gluten free and vegan got, there's just so many companies just came in creating constant foods that weren't really healthy at all, but because it was labeled vegan, because it was labeled gluten free, people just thought it was healthy and okay to
Yeah.
consume.
I think something that's really messed us up is seed oils. I am like, I'll stand by that till this day. Like, seed oils are not good for us. We should not be eating seed oils. There's so many seed oils. They're so bad for us, and it's in everything. It's
It
like
is in a lot of
it's
stuff.
so
Yeah.
bad for our microbiome. It's so bad. There's
Mhm.
just so many
Mhm.
studies out there now that have talked
Yeah.
about, and that's what
Yeah.
when they started mass producing vegan stuff is like you start
Yeah.
to be like sunflower oil, canola oil, soybean oil, like all these things are like
Yeah.
actually that's just like how long they stay in your digestive system and how long they take to digest.
Yeah.
And it's like people don't.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah.
You know.
Actually, that led me to another question. So you said protein's very important to have in any diet plan to build muscle. Do you have a lot of, if any, vegan clients? And if you do have
Oh.
vegan clients, how do you incorporate protein into that outside of protein shakes?
Yeah, we do have a few vegan
Yeah.
clients. Yeah, some it varies. Some are like new vegans, you
Mhm.
know,
right.
and then you have people who have been vegan for like 10 years.
Do the new vegans
And-
stay vegan at the end of the plans? I've met a few.
Sometimes, but
Yeah, I was gonna say there's been a ton of new vegans I've met that within like a month or two.
yeah, it's hard.
Because it's hard. Trust me. I mean, like Kirsten and I tried. Did we try vegan or did I try?
I did
something
the
else?
Daniel fast, which is like only vegetables
Oh man.
for like 21 days. I did cook my vegetables. You're not supposed to cook your vegetables for the real Daniel fast, but like
You're supposed to have it raw.
raw
Yeah.
vegetables, and I think raw
rough.
like
That was rough. You
grains
can't
that are
spice
from.
'em?
Well, I'm sure you could like dip them in hummus, but I don't actually know
The
the full
Daniel
thing of
fast
it.
is. Do you
but-
know what it is?
I have no idea. Is there
Okay,
like a
it's
just
based-
pick a name sort
It's
of fast?
no. It's based upon. It's
Like
based
the crab
upon.
fast?
It's based upon eating the food of how it was back in, like, let's say the caveman.
How it
era.
was made.
Like you're not
Eating the
cooking
food
it,
how it
it's-
was
Oh,
made.
so it's like
originally
paleo,
made.
but
Okay.
Yeah.
Daniel. Because paleo is argue that's the primitive diet.
Well, Daniel's
It's because
biblical.
Daniel in the Bible, what it was based by, it's called the Daniel fast, is because they only ate vegetables and
oh,
things.
it's Daniel like the
Yeah,
Okay,
so
see,
It's
Come
the
on, Jake.
origin of
you said
like
primitive, bro. There are
I didn't
plenty
say
of
the
primitive.
primitive.
discussion
You
of
said-
one of the first
caveman.
You said
vegans.
caveman.
I was just trying to get him. If it wasn't for you, he wouldn't have got that.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
okay.
it's like one of the first vegans, I guess, that's
Ah,
documented.
Yes.
Got you,
And so
got you.
in that
Okay.
regard. So, but it's hard because So, what are the different foods, as Brandon asked, that you would like recommend for them to get their protein intake?
It's a lot of like legumes. I would
Mhm.
say mostly, right? So, all different sorts of beans, chickpeas.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is with what's difficult with the vegan diet, it's like it's not that there aren't other things that have protein in it besides animal products.
Mhm.
It's just that a lot of the foods also have fat in it too, so you have to take that into account.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people have a hard time with it because then your fat content tends to be a little bit higher.
Right.
If you're having like, I don't know, quinoa is pretty high in protein as
Mhm.
well, but it's obviously not just pure protein. You also have carbs in it. So you have to, okay, like when you're thinking about it, making sure that maybe you have to lower the carbs that you're having the rest of the day
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah.
See,
Got
that's,
it. It's
that's
just
what I
more
was
thought
thinking
to
about
put
because
into
I
it.
was like, my diet always basically leans pure carnivore with like vegetables to like balance it out. But almost everything I do is carnivore, and that's like changed
No, there's.
my life.
The
We're
reason why I
there with
asked
you,
her.
Jake. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Well, the reason why I asked about the whole vegan question is because obviously, I'm not vegan, but I looked at Kirsten the other day and I was like, I feel like I eat so much meat. And
Oh,
I was like,
dude.
there's a part of me where I'm just like, I feel like I don't need to be eating
This much
so much meat every meal.
Yeah.
Like, there has to
And you
like that's
don't-
why I was like, there's got to be another
Yeah.
source.
Yeah.
But the thing is, my brain, I don't have time to think about it or figure it out. I just eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, man, I don't know. I was also thinking like it's like we were talking about teach their own, how your body intakes this food. A big misconception that I had to break my brain on is carbs. Is that all
Mhm.
carbs
Oh,
are
yeah.
terrible and
Yeah.
all carbs are going to make you heavy and like
Yeah.
that was, man, I still to this day still kind of have to figure it out. I also, what can happen, I know this for a fact, is when you stick to a diet for so long, your body can be resilient to certain, like, I did a carb-free life for so long that when I do incorporate carbs, it kind of messes me up. Like, I kind of have to have like a certain, I don't know, I have to be a little bit more lenient, or not lenient, but more,
Stringent.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Someone knows how to
So-
talk. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So I have another question real quick. So I know you said earlier in the podcast you can't really tell how much, let's say, protein to consume, right? Or count your calories, stuff like that. But is there like a ballpark idea that you would say like, okay, this is how much grams I could have based upon my weight?
All right.
We're gonna have a
Oh.
consultation right now.
Okay.
Alright, this is
He's
over
like,
there.
yeah, what is your goal?
Okay, body and soul.
Right, do you believe in the 1 gram for a body
Like,
weight,
it's
is
like-
that like
yeah.
It's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
If you have no idea to start, that generally does work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because most people, we don't have anywhere near that.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
yeah.
work
know,
towards
that was my
that.
question. I always hear someone say, "Have as much as your body weight, many grams," and people
Yeah.
calculate the BMI, body mass index, and stuff like that, and they try to get the exact numbers. And I'm like, I forgot who I just said it to, but I asked him. I was like, "How much do you weigh?" I asked him genuinely. I was
Yeah.
like, "You eat this many grams of protein?" He's like, "Yeah, I count it every day." I was
Bro,
like,
that's what I
"That
was
sounds
thinking.
stressful."
Dude, like I'm 172 pounds, and I'm like, I've got to get that much in every day. Like,
Yeah.
that's actually
I-
really
Yeah,
hard.
it
Don't
is-
get me
it is
wrong,
hard.
I
In a
used
container
I
too.
used to
Yeah.
count every single piece of food item, and that's the years. That's what they're talking
Right.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to count everything, and I would not eat anything outside of my meals. But
Mm.
in today's world, because we obviously all work now, I'm just like I just eat. I don't count
Yeah.
anything.
Mhm.
I just eat, and
Yeah.
I just make sure that I eat every couple hours. I eat something, and I just don't allow myself to feel like I'm starving. That's all I do.
Yeah.
What's very interesting is I feel like even was such realize this. We don't eat half as much as we think we do. I've come to realize that when it's like, how am I not getting my calories, or how am I not? It's like I feel like we overestimate how much we eat. Like most people, at least. I don't know. Like I don't know if you guys run into that with clients, but
Yeah, we do. And I think the number one thing everyone says, like, oh, well, I don't eat a lot,
Mm.
So, but I'm not losing the weight.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
don't eat, and it's like,
Yeah.
because they actually don't even know how much they're eating. I have them track, okay,
Mm.
just
Well.
for like a week. I just
Yeah.
want you to write down whatever it is that you're eating.
Yeah.
And then you look back and you realize you're barely eating
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And you don't even know, and you think you're eating all day, but you're really not.
do you have them do like the nutritional facts and all that? Like just keep up with everything for like a week just to try it, or
Just to
what
kind
they're
of
eating?
just what they're eating.
Okay, so
yeah.
like a food journal, basically.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Self-awareness,
Yeah.
we don't have that.
Yeah.
So just bringing self-awareness into anything, I think, will make you change some of your habits.
Of course.
Snacks, and snacks.
Yeah. A late
So
night
is
eating.
there- Oh yeah, that was
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
go hand in hand with what I was about to ask.
yeah.
Well, no, I was
Yeah.
just gonna say, like, is there like certain things? I don't know how to word what I'm thinking.
Like pitfalls you see people make all the time.
Well, it's just like, is there certain times of the day you would recommend eat, like, let's say, like heavy meals versus light meals?
Oh.
Like, for example, like someone's gonna eat like the most amount of carbs in their day. Should they do that at lunch? Should they do that at dinner, or is it just like doesn't matter?
I think the carbs don't matter as much, but you can look at it from the morning bigger meals as the day goes on.
Lighter as the day
lighter.
goes on.
Yes.
Oh.
Like no real super heavy meals after
Yeah.
like I don't want to say an exact time, but like
Sure,
late
sure.
at night. Like depends on when you're sleeping too.
Yeah. I would
Right.
say like an hour and a half before you're
Yeah.
sleeping, you should probably
Yeah.
Yeah.
be done with your eating.
what,
You
that's
don't
a-
want to eat and then go to
Oh, that's a
bed.
good question.
What about-
Actually.
what about-
that's-
Yeah,
Yeah.
eating and then going to bed?
Yeah.
No,
Th-
that's
yeah.
not good.
Okay, so I see where you guys stand
Like a
because I was gonna say
Oh,
I know how you
yeah,
guys were
that's
saying at the
fine.
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
You weigh out like which trainers come into your gym if it fits your
Mhm,
brand and
mhm.
how you guys are speaking about the fitness world. Because I've met some trainers, or not met, I've seen them online where they're just like, it doesn't care how late you eat. Keep on eating until you hit your macros. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, that doesn't seem
No.
right.
Because you're not
No.
going to feel good the next
You're
day because you
not.
Yeah.
can't digest that food.
Oh,
Right,
man.
Really. So then
Yeah.
you wake up tired too in the morning.
That makes so much sense. Because I have a problem. Like, I feel like I was doing the best when I would get my last meal in by like 8 and I was in bed by 10.
Yeah.
But it's so
Okay.
as life
So-
comes around, it's so hard.
Yeah, no. So because it's your gym's body soul, do you ever give clients, let's say, like some sort of routine to do at certain hours of the day outside of the gym to like keep that
Mm.
calming presence throughout the day?
Yeah, I would say just again, it's so different for everybody.
Mm.
But like
Yeah.
some people, maybe they can like journal.
Mhm.
Or I think food is a big one that a lot of people have problems with.
Mhm,
So just kind of working on that, texting me, reaching out to me if they feel like they're out somewhere and they don't know what to order, what to do. So
okay.
we kind of have, it's just, we try to do around the clock support, so it's not just in that hour session that they're there. And yeah, it's just so different for everybody. It's whatever that they need from us that's going to help them
Nice.
be better and healthier.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the do you guys have eventually like to do like online plans and stuff like that? Do you already have that? What's the next stage?
What's
Yeah.
the way?
We actually do. We
Oh, really?
have an app.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Yeah.
You guys got an app? Oh,
Yes. So it's online personal training.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And is it like
Yes.
what like a monthly subscription?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So again, it'll be individualized workout plans, you know,
mhm.
for that person. It's for anyone who can't come into the gym physically,
Mhm.
but every exercise there's a video of every exercise.
Mhm.
So you'll know exactly what to do. And again, around the clock support.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And is it just you two in the team, or have you guys kind of branched out? Wow, so it's just
It's
you guys
just
doing the, like
us.
around the
Yeah.
clock support.
Yeah.
Powerhouse.
So in
So-
that, wait, I do want to say,
Yeah,
like, maybe
go,
we're
go.
gonna ask
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same question, but
Yeah.
like, how do you balance that with your personal lives?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was just
Yeah.
saying.
That's a good question. Yeah.
I think that's what we're trying to work right now
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
with it, because we can find ourselves just like fully immersed into it, and then we
Yeah.
realize like we're working every single day,
Right.
Yeah.
constantly, and so that's been kind of a struggle of trying to find that balance, because we've been open for a year now,
Wow.
and
Wow.
so
Yeah, that's huge.
yeah, especially in
That's
the
crazy.
Thank you.
yeah. So especially in the beginning, it was really hard because we were just everything that we had was just going into it.
Yeah.
And I think we find ourselves still kind of doing that. So we're still trying to work on how to balance everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's difficult because it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
Right.
But we have a good support system, and like, you know, like if we, like, for example, my husband sometimes will say like, you've been working for 13 days straight, like you need to like take a little bit of time
Like,
off,
come
you know?
home and see me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You know nothing about that.
There's a reason why I thought about that.
but we're so lucky that, you know, we work so well together, and it's not like it's not like, you know, she's gonna get upset if I don't come in, or vice versa, you know, like, so. But we are working right now. Our goal is to find more work-life balance for
Yeah.
sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I know we're getting close to wrapping this up, I just want to ask. This pertains to the app. So, do you guys have a system in place to where if you are a user of the app and you you can come in if you're ever in the area to the gym, or it's like two separate things?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of, it's more of like an app for the gym itself.
Oh, okay.
Versus just online training, but there is that portion
Okay,
of it
cool.
too. So it's kind of like having a trainer on the go, that if you can't come in, you can just kind of, you know exactly what you need to do, and you can go to the gym and do it
Well,
yourself.
do you guys have
you know?
merch?
Oh, well.
We gotta get
We would
some-
love
future.
in the future,
All
coming
right.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming
Well,
soon.
actually,
Coming soon.
Before
some
we do
hoodies
end
and
this, you
hats,
guys
some
do need to tell the busy babies like where they can find you, how they can support you, you know. Yeah, our busy babies.
poorest timing.
Well, our Instagram is probably the best way to
Yes,
find
our
us.
Instagram is bodyandsoul.studio.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll tag you guys. Do all that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Perfect.
man. Well, hey, thank you guys so much
Oh
for
my
coming
God, of
on.
course.
Thank you for
like,
having us.
Got this
Thanks
new
for
fire of
having
energy. I'm
us.
going to the gym right when we're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Are you guys
Yes.
motivated?
Yeah.
I think that also just to end that, like, that's why a personal trainer or a personal space to go to is so important, is it keeps you accountable. Like,
Yeah,
you feel like
100%.
you have somebody believing in your journey and in your fitness goals, and that's, I think, a huge gift. So thank
Yeah.
you, ladies, for
Honestly,
being
I
powerhouse
I
women.
highly recommend people get trainers.
Yeah.
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 It's life changing.
You won't
It
end up with
is.
hip flexors like me.
Or what did you say at the beginning? It was like a sound cracking.
Oh yeah, my hip will make a noise if I. Yeah, it's a long story.
It's like you need a
Anyway,
trainer.
I'm gonna tell you somewhere else to go to before that. All
All right,
right.
well, we